Hello. So if everybody could maybe just drop in the chat your name and where you're coming in from today. We've got some of the old favorites from prior discussions, but some new faces as well. My name's Jim. I'm founder here at Brokerkit. I'll be leading your session today. Let's see. Okay, I got Ricky Terrell in Oklahoma City, Randy out in Salt Lake City, Dismas in Albuquerque, Sierra down in Jacksonville, North Carolina. I grew up in Greensboro, by the way.
I grew up in Fayetteville.
Jeffrey up in Ontario, Canada. So we've got a diverse group. Megan Sparks and Plano. Okay, so this is also going to be recorded. It'll be out on our YouTube channel. This is kind of an ongoing series. We're experimenting with we tried kind of monthly webinars. We've been doing weekly masterminds. We kind of evolved them a little bit. Now we're somewhere in the middle. We want to keep this interactive. I'm going to show some concepts, then show you how to do it in Brokerkit. If you have any questions, throw them in the chat. I'm going to maybe do some questions as we go. Keep it interactive. A few other people are joining. So for today, let me start out with a question. Who has experience with recruiting agents out of a real estate school? Either you've got your own school, you work with a local school, or some kind of nationwide school, either online or brick and mortar. Just let me know. I see an arrow to Randy. So Randy does. Is that in-house? Maybe just tell us what type of school. Is it in-house, local? Like, what are you doing there?
So I've recruited out of our real estate school in both Utah and Arizona. Utah is not nearly as easy to get in front of the students there, but we can get the list and market to them. We can mail to them. We can find them on social media. Phoenix is different because the in-person school down there, they actually host like a career fair where all the vendors can come in and have a table or a booth. So you get a lot of different companies there that are not real estate. You get title, mortgage, home warranty, inspectors. Those career nights when the real estate schools have those are very effective because everybody shows up. Of course, the competition's there, but that's okay. We all compete without contempt, and we're all very different.
Right. And then Tricia, how about you? It sounds like you've worked with real estate school in the past too.
I have done only minimal recruiting from real estate schools. I have a school of my own, but I don't teach licensing. I teach only advanced designations. That has not been I've only dipped my toe in recruiting from real estate schools. So I'm here to learn from everyone who is more seasoned than I am. I'm a national instructor, but I think I leave a lot at the table by not recruiting. So Jim, thank you so much for your information.
He just gave me an idea of something I didn't even include, which is continuing education classes as a way to get exposure with the other agents in the marketplace. Maybe that's another slide for another day, though. So, or a discussion for another day. I love it.
Jim, I was a CE instructor in Utah. I wrote 4 core CE classes for our division. I had a couple 3-hour classes and a couple 2-hour classes and a 1-hour class.
Yeah.
And I teach those at the board. Other real estate companies would invite me in to teach CE in their offices. I had an agreement with them that I wouldn't try and recruit their agents.
Love it. Thanks for that ideas. I'll dive in, but let's keep it collaborative. I've got some slides to generate discussion. I'll show you stuff when it makes sense in the app. But why are you all here? I think it's attracting agents. That's challenge number one in a brokerage. Recruiting agents is your biggest challenge that I hear when talking to brokerages on a regular basis. It's either recruiting or retention. It's usually recruiting more than retention. High competition, especially for experienced agents, right? Brokerages are competing for that talent, for the folks that have proven themselves. What's unique about real estate too is you have access to who's in the market and their sales history using the MLS data. That really doesn't exist anywhere in any industry out of Western Canada. And that's a big part of Brokerkit, being able to see producing agents and target them, which we love. This is about maybe taking a different avenue. That also increases the competition. It doesn't work outside of the US and Canada where you can target people based on their sales history. It does ramp up the competition for those people, right? The next one would be if you have a pretty defined system, especially lead generation system and follow-up around it, and you want people to fit in that system, make a certain number of calls a day, activity targets. People that are more seasoned, it's going to be hard to get them to comply with something like that, and especially if they're remote. unless you get them in office. And then the last one is the concerns of the rookie themselves. Like they just fear being out there on their own, essentially after licensing. So that's kind of the challenge, and we're here to talk about that today. Essentially, you can use real estate as your agent farm team. If you bring them in and have a supportive environment, people that you bring in and you nurture to production are going to be very loyal to you, especially if you have a very positive, recognition focused culture, much more so than an experienced agent that's switching brokerages to get the best split possible. Also, lower recruiting costs. If you can get this dialed in, you can have a recurring funnel of people where there are some fixed costs associated with it, but potentially much lower costs, a lot less conversations too than highly seasoned agents. And then you're developing future top producers if you're good at identifying the talent, the people with core values that align with you, and you have a good system around it. So it's creating that steady talent pipeline. There's really three avenues. You have your own school, and I'll talk about that and how to run a recruiting funnel around that. The next would be partnering with local schools, or there's some nationwide providers that are online or brick and mortar. So let's see, does anybody on the class have their own school? I think, Tricia, you said you're teaching, but it's not for pre-licensing. Does anybody have a pre-licensing school on here?
I have the capability to teach pre-licensing. I just don't because there's only 24 hours in the day. I'm an approved instructor for National Association of Realtors, so I have an NARCRD license. I teach for the state as well, but I don't teach the pre-licensing.
Okay, all good. And I actually have a really good case study for somebody I talked to a couple days ago. I'm going to walk through their specific numbers and how they do it. They're bringing in 30 people a month in a unique class, and it's working very well for them. So I'm going to go through how they're doing it and the specific numbers.
Any person on the call has a lot of resources. Some of the things I am able to get through RIA is I'm able to host online pre-licensing classes through my own portal. They host the classes. All I do is let them create a web page for me, and everything funnels through them, but the students think they're attending my classes.
Okay, so there's in-house, which you're going to have that direct pipeline. There are issues that Randy brought up around if it's not your own school, when can you talk to them? You know, especially it seems like it differs by state too. Like at what some, you know, I hear frequently I can't really talk to them till the class is in, things like that. If you have a more control if it's your own, obviously brand consistency, but higher initial investment and potentially greater returns if you can scale it up. Local partnerships, I love. Randy basically touched on one of these guest instructor role. This could apply for CE training too, right? But great way to get your name out there and get to know these people quickly. It's probably not a lot of time, not super high paying, but great for exposure. Fairly low cost, moderate effort compared to the others. And then there's some nationwide providers where you can be essentially an affiliate. It looks like it's your school, but it's kind of an online national one. You don't have to come up with the content. You're owning the branding, but you can push it out there and potentially be an affiliate to get some revenue share off that. Those are the options. It sounds like we've got some folks spanning these. I'll start with principle number one, which is, so on the next slide, I'll have some nationwide ones that you can interface with. Tricia named one, but think of it as like there's two ways you can partner. One is being an affiliate for them, where you're sending them leads of people new to the industry. This could be proactively trying to generate these, but just, you know, an example would be, hey, you're in the mall and you're in Peloton and you run into somebody who's great at sales. You think they'd be a great agent, but they're not in the industry. You could direct them to something higher ticket. You'll probably do better. You refer them to one of these partner programs. They enroll, then they become a lead for you afterwards. So you're referring to them and then they're referring back to you. Probably more outreach, come up with that list of folks, search on them, reach out and figure out what it is. It's probably going to be very different by state and locally within these schools. Tricia, you're touching on my next slide there. And you can manage this in Brokerkit, right? Think of this as a funnel or a pipeline of candidates that you're trying to nurture. If you're managing the school, you're getting all the signups at the beginning, getting higher in the funnels. In Brokerkit, what you're doing is like essentially going in and importing it as a list here, using the leads importer, download the template, import it. I would recommend you go in and set up if you go into account settings, you can add custom sources. I would add a specific source around real estate schools. And if you're affiliating with different schools, so you can track everything by source. You can create your own sources. filter by source and track it back. We have this predefined one in there, real estate schools, or you could create a custom one if you want something more specific. And then that way you're able to track them back. You can track of the agents you're hiring, where are they coming from and the ROI of a given channel. I'm not going to go through the full demo of Brokerkit, but you're creating campaigns, reaching out to them, things like that. I'll come back to the campaigns in a little bit, but any questions from anyone on how you would actually let me pause that, because I'm going to come back to the campaigns, how to do that. My next slide is kind of what you were throwing in there, Tricia. These are the nationwide schools where you can be an affiliate and white label them. So the CE shop you mentioned in the chat, that's the second one. That's the one I've heard the most of. I've heard a lot of brokerages use that. You mentioned Web CE. That is not in my list. And what was the other one you mentioned earlier?
I mentioned C Shop, and I met Kaplan also. You're right about them. They do the same thing. I have a list somewhere because they all come to the RIA conference. If any of the other brokers online are interested in training and learning more, is an organization which has a lot of resources, especially for instructors. I have gone through Kaplan, I have heard of, and the WebC is new Colibam and instructor of record for a couple of other schools. I don't remember the name. I just signed up with. Because as an instructor, you can be instructor of record. They do the thing. They just pay me to have my name on it. It gets my name out there as an instructor. WebC is a newer one, but WebC does a great job. So does C Sharp. You can choose to do your own marketing and upcharge the courses as you want. If you take the C Sharp materials and apply for CE at your state, then you can buy them to wholesale and charge what you want.
Right. So pre-licensing, which of these options could be used for CE training later? It's not even pre-licensing.
C Sharp will have CE training.
I would say this discussion is mainly about pre-licensing, but one of the things I cover in my agent recruiting on the Brokerkit, if you haven't taken it, we do it every Monday, Wednesday. It's available in the Brokerkit training calendar. Is events in general just a great way to have a lot of conversations at once. Trainings, you could go talk to 20, 30 people at once, right? And that's a great way to do it without having to develop the content. You're probably getting rev on the back end for it. Think of that. And then Tricia, I'm throwing a link to the slides. You can save these. This will be available on our YouTube channel, but like if you want access to the slides, look into the chat, you can save it and you'll have this as a reference. Tricia, what was the other one? RIA, the organization you were talking about? Can you
RIA is the Real Estate Educators Associations, Association, RIA.org. Their membership is only $150 a year, but the resources, especially if a broker is also interested in instructing, they teach you to become a better instructor. They offer training because it's a different ballgame to teach adults.
Anybody have any questions on these options, nationwide, local? We're going to go into hosting your own next. Questions or comments? Who else has experience with one of these? So the next concept, there's a lot of different ways to host your own, but I had a call where somebody walked through specifically how they do this, and I thought it was a really excellent case study that you would like. So there's a concept, it's called a self-liquidating funnel. What a self-liquidating funnel means is you run ads on the front end, and the ads are to advertise a course that they pay a small amount for, but the amount of the course that they pay for pays for the ads. So therefore, you're running the ads for free, meaning the funnel pays for itself. This is something I've heard about in digital marketing spheres. A common one would be a 30-day challenge for something, be like your local gym or some software product. But it's used in a lot of different industries, but it's like, 30-day weight loss challenge at your gym, right? And you sign up and it's like $199 or $99 or something like that. And then the way they get people to sign up is they run a bunch of meta ads. Well, your $199 pays for the ads, therefore they're getting a bunch of leads with the cost covered, essentially, and that's why they're doing it. So this is an example somebody described to me of a big brokerage running Google Ads. In this case study, they said they were running Google Ads targeting pre-licensing keywords, spending $1,500 a month. They were getting on average 30 attendees per class, which comes out to basically $50 per attendee. But then they're charging $299. So everybody that signs up, they're making money on, right? Because it's costing $50 per attendee, it's $299. So they're making $250 on every single one. And they have 30 new agents. Basically, we were talking to them and they were like, we only want to try to recruit experienced agents through Brokerkit because we already have this figured out. We have enough new agents, right? It's like this ongoing channel they have in recruiting new agents. But even if the agents wash out, they're fine because we made money on the training for it. That creates a self-liquidating funnel, which is a steady flow of pre-qualified candidates while it's cost neutral. You can track all those in Brokerkit to track your ROI. And you can track this back by campaign too, specifically to the campaign ads, the Google ads to your Brokerkit. And I'll show you how in a second. You could do the same thing with job ads, but if you did this with Indeed, you could do the exact same thing. Frankly, you could probably do it in Craigslist for almost no cost, right? To get people out there. It's wherever people would be looking for pre-licensing. Your ad spend probably does make sense because the cost of the class is covering it, and therefore it's self-liquidating. And they basically were like, these are my numbers now. They just told me it's working so well, they're doubling it to $3,000 a month. And they're doing this every 2 weeks. They have definitely refined this and scaled it up. Any questions before I move? Tricia threw in the link to Rhea. I'm gonna click on that link. For the people watching, here's your link. Go check that out. That's the organization with resources around training you can leverage. Okay, that's the Google ad funnel. So let's talk about how you actually do that. Okay, so essentially you're running these type of keywords, okay? So licensing related, so just people looking for real estate licensing classes, real estate license by state. That's the intent you're looking for there. Career change type things, how to become a real estate agent, starting a career. And then people lower in the funnel looking for specific schools. These would be more opportunity seekers. So different ways to find them, and you kind of different keywords, set up different campaigns, one for each theme, and have different keywords under them. On the ad copy and landing pages, one area you can kill a funnel is they click through something that says something very specific. They click through, they look at a page and it doesn't say the same thing, they will immediately bounce. So like the key thing is make sure that the wording sounds very similar. So like align the headlines to the search terms. Whatever they clicked on, make sure that is very clearly in the ad. So it's like kind of seems like it's continuity. They click through, it makes sense. If they click through and it says different words, you have a very high bounce rate. So like become a real estate agent for career change keywords. Be very specific. And you would probably want different copy for each of those themes with keyword variations for each of those. The other thing is just like be, obviously highlight benefits, but the benefits should probably be the benefits they will receive in real estate versus a feature dump about you, because you're trying to sell them to do this. And later, the people who get through the school, that they've already paid for themselves. Then it's more about nurturing the people that seem like they're the best fit to kind of move them forward. Very clear action, simple, not a lot of words. You need to ask them to do something. Start a career today, enroll, have just one button that's very clear what you're asking them to do. The other one is you can point them at lead forms or some kind of landing page. We have our own landing pages. But one of the things we found is the then lead forms have a very high conversion rate on both Meta and Google. And instead of running an ad where when they click the button, it goes to a landing page, the landing page is almost built into the ad, right? So they click the button, it pops up a form right there, and it pre-completes information if it knows it. Like if it's on Meta, it knows their profile, so it fills it out automatically, and all they have to do is submit. Because of that, you'll have more submissions. And what you can do is, I'll just give you an example. You can run these with Meta ads, but it's probably easier to run this specific campaign with Google ads. There's an app called Zapier, which is an integration app, which anything on this you can push into Brokerkit. So this is Zapier, if you haven't heard of it. It's kind of like an integration app. You can create a contact, you can use this to then push or update something in Brokerkit. I go to Google Ads. Down here at the bottom, you'll see, here's my triggers, the things I can trigger off of. It would be new lead form entry. If you're running the lead form, they click the button, it pops up the form, it's pre-populated, they submit, then that's the trigger, and you could push it into Brokerkit. Our customer success team will help you set this up if you need. We can help give a template to you. When you do that, it just drops into Brokerkit under new leads. You get an email that you have a new lead, add a campaign trigger. It starts texting, emailing, and giving yourself a task to call them. Okay, so you're building a full funnel, right, all the way through to the ad submission, to capturing the lead, and then nurturing the lead. It's like a funnel like this. There's the people that go through the school, right? And then it's continuing after the school, and you're nurturing the people that kind of make it through becoming an agent. Mobile optimization is key. Assume most people are doing this on a phone. Most agents are on the go, right? Everything, you have to assume phone for everything. It's simple form that they can just click on their phone and do it, means more people are going to do it. Track the conversions in Brokerkit. You can set a specific source when it comes in and track back to per campaign if you wanted to. If anybody needs help, we can help you set this up and manage it as an add-on to your Brokerkit software platform. At the end, maybe just put in the chat. We can follow up with you separately. We can help you build this. You can work with customer success yourself. If you want somebody to run it for you, we can do that too, but that's more of an add-on. But that's the whole funnel. That's the Google ad version. You could do the same thing with job ads, right, too. So any questions on that?
You said something about job ads. Recently, we're trying to connect our WiseHire with Zapier to upload those individuals into our Brokerkit. Have you ever had experience with that?
Yeah, we do. You can even push them in with their resumes. So if you go to product training, help articles, we do have a specific article on that. I'll throw that in.
Thank you.
You can do that directly. If you need help with that, you can jump on our office hours, go to product training calendar, and then office hours, and we help you set that up too.
It was in training that I can click on office hours.
The same thing would apply. When they apply, they would drop in a Brokerkit with their resume. You'd get the email. They would show up in your new leads, and you could automatically trigger campaigns on them too. Like go create a campaign.
Oh.
So if you go under campaign triggers,
yes,
this would be an example of a source-based trigger. So if you look, it's source is Facebook. It could be actually source is WiseHire. When they're coming in from Zapier, it's creating a contact with the source WiseHire. This automatically triggers the campaign you select when a new contact is created called WiseHire. So you set up WiseHire, they come in, it fires the trigger, it triggers the campaign, and then it's sending them emails, texts, and giving you tasks. Make sense, Sierra?
Yeah, thank you.
Are you, when you're using WiseHire, are you looking for pre-licensing? Is it maybe out of 10 candidates you get through WiseHire? I love this question. What percent of them out of 10, maybe 1 out of 10, how many are pre-licensing versus existing agents that are just looking for something different?
Oh my gosh. Recently, we've been having a lot of individuals who are interested in the real estate industry and just wanting to have that intro call with our broker. About 30% are looking to make a change and a move. It has been getting a little bit bigger because we have brokerages that are recently closing. We've been able to take an opportunity in that and also going through BrokerView and utilizing some of those saved searches and trends that they offer for us to look at to upload in Brokerkit.
And then back to some of the things we talked about today could really apply, which is if you set up with a CE shop or something like that, become an affiliate, all those new to the industry people, you could have your own school and run them or be an affiliate to a partner program, and then they become a lead for you and you get revenue share on all the people you refer to them.
Oh.
If you're running the job ads, are they pre-licensing, new to the industry, in a real estate school, licensed, or with a brokerage, new inexperienced, and then you're routing them different directions. For the people new to the industry, this is giving you where to send them to a school, your school, a partner school where you're getting rev share, or your white labeled national school like a CE shop. Okay, so that's how to run the campaigns. The next one is ad copy or copy in general, right? This could be in an email, a text, any ads. Focus on their pain. There's probably a lot of uncertainty. They don't know how they're going to make money. Potentially high risk, high reward. They're trying to go for the reward versus the risk. What probably will not work well is salesy, pitchy content about how great you are, but more pain. You're probably feeling this pain. We can help you out. If they open the copy and feel that pain emotionally, that's what's going to generate change. If a highly salesy copy where you're talking about how great you are doesn't convert well these days because people get bombarded with that. They're in an emotionally turbulent situation if you think about it. An industry change into a commission-only role is high risk, high reward. If you lead with the pain and a solution for it, you'll make them feel that emotion and they're much more likely to move on. The next thing would be like testimonials for your own agents, like specifically video, okay, is probably the best content you can have, which is your own agents And this just goes in general for recruiting. You can get your own agents to pull up their phone and record a video talking about what it's like working with you. I actually have a script you can ask them to do. I should have thought about this beforehand, but just get them to talk about your brokerage on the phone, record a quick video. The best tool to work with that is really cool. It's called Opus Clips, if you haven't seen this. It's quite inexpensive. It's like an AI tool. Take that video and do shorts with it. It's literally only $15 a month. You can sign up and just do this. What it does is, if you take their videos, you've probably seen these on social media. You just take a video and the AI automatically creates like 20 different variations, clipping it and automatically adding subtitles. You just go through and look for the ones that seem interesting, and it's super quick. And you don't have to have an editor. You don't have to spend a bunch of editing time. You just get the agent to talk about what it's like working with you and try to have them say, this is what my life was before. This is what it's like now. Get it in video and then just import it into a tool like this. It'll create the shorts. That stuff is gold for recruiting. Okay. Okay. So then coaching tips, practical content. When they're going through the school, a lot of it's not practical, right? It's very specific around rules and regulations. They're worried about, this is all great, but how am I going to make money, right? So it is very practical around, once you're in the business, this is how you're going to support your family. They're going to be super open to it, right? So the next one is follow up with them in Brokerkit, right? So they're coming through the funnel. Maybe they start at the top, you're running ads, you're getting real estate school attendees. Now it's continuing into the funnel to then try to recruit them. I don't know if you've seen, this is famous in the sales world, Glenn Ross. Alec Baldwin had a great role. His famous line is ABC, always be closing. So always be recruiting as a broker, have daily outreach, 10 contacts. This is going to take a fair number of interactions. Some of those via nurturing campaigns. As you're trying to recruit more experienced agents, the more senior and higher producing they are, the more personal you need to be. If you're trying to recruit a team, highly generic automated messages probably are not going to work well for that team leader, right? But a brand new agent, they're totally cool with the automated stuff, right? They just want to figure out how to make money. They're going to be open to talking to whoever, right? Campaigns are going to work great. If you go into our automation campaign library, you go to recruiting new agents, you're going to see a set of templates that are all around these new agent kind of avatars. This would be people that are new to the industry, considering school. In school, this would be like they're through school and they've gotten their license. This is people that they're brand new, basically. They've probably affiliated with a brokerage, but they haven't, they're brand new to the business still. They're not very experienced in the first year or so. So when you look at these are all going to be multi-touch, multi-channel campaigns. I would say before you use any of these, copy them and heavily edit them. Your value proposition, like those videos, if you can throw in some videos of your face, right? Your agents to build trust, please do. We wouldn't include those in our campaigns because we don't have that for you, but that's the kind of stuff that you're going to want to add and to stand out. Think of short, dripping, some coaching content, agent testimonials, your video, interspersed with some conversation. Those are informational messages, interspersed with conversational messages, short 2-3 sentences out on a question. You're trying to get them to reply so you can talk about when to meet up and grab coffee or something like that. And it's a sequence of emails, texts, call tasks. You're copying them down. The thing I would say about our campaign templates is they're pretty long by default, probably longer than you need intentionally to give you a lot of ideas, but I would shorten them typically. This one's 17 steps long. The last step on all these, by the way, is to wait 6 months before you contact them again. So think of like you're hitting them with a campaign, multi-touch for a few weeks. If they reply, the campaign is you're following up with them. If they don't reply and ghosted you after you reached out to them like 10 times, you should probably wait a while before you do it again, or you're going to annoy them. Even putting that one aside, this is probably too long on average. I would cut it down. Put in some of your own stuff, especially video content if you have it. That's campaigns to run. So think the value-added touches, the updates interspersed with the conversational messages, trying to get them to just reply back. You're automating and tracking it. Once you're talking to people, the workflow is you're trying to get the signups to the school, they attend the school, then you're dripping content. These are probably 2 different campaigns. There's the campaign to get into the school, then they in the school, then there's the post-school nurture, which is the coaching and the conversation messages to get them to reply. Then you have a call with them or a meeting. Then you manage them with the pipeline report. But think of the workflow, and the pipeline report is over here, but I'll show you how to add them first. So the workflow is I'm kind of reaching out to them. It could be manually with tasks, or it could be a campaign that's sending some emails, giving you a task to call. For whatever reason, they reply back and agree to a meeting. Okay? Or it could be you're sending a text with a calendar link. They just schedule, right? Okay, so you're reaching out, they're manually or automated to try to get an appointment. They schedule the appointment through your calendar link, or they talk to you and you schedule. You meet with them after the appointment, and this is where you log your notes. You're updating the status. These are all configurable. Maybe you add some custom steps for these people, right? You could add stages for the pre-licensing school, graduated school, things like that. And you're tracking them by that stage. And then you're giving them a rating once you think they're through the school and likely to work out. You're giving them a rating on when they're likely to join. That rating adds them to the pipeline report. You're going to see them in the pipeline report ranked by rating. You're not going to see any production for them yet, probably, but they're using this as your report, your pipeline of people to follow up with to try to close, and then you're bringing them on board. Questions on that so far? So then the next step is, these are going to be people new to business. Now, this is not for everyone. You're going to have a strong coaching program. The onboarding is going to have to be super dialed in, critical. We have a customer that I did a podcast interview with. She's got about 150 agents. She said something interesting. Basically, my business, I do two things. I generate leads and I coach agents. Those are the two things you got to be good at. When I listen to people talk about how they structure it, these are the things, right? It's typically a 90-day plan. First 3 months is kind of critical. That first 30 days is the most critical. It's got to be a very structured plan for that first 90 days with training modules and check-ins. A mentorship program is critical. Pairing them with seasoned agents if they're new to the business. Even after they've joined, you have to keep selling them. Recognition and success stories for other agents, especially rookies, is like super critical for them to hear it and keep motivated to keep going. I would say in office too. Somebody told me recently on a call, they had spent the time putting this together and it hired some people. They did a study on how close they were to the office. And everybody was 15 miles or more away from the office, washed out within 6 months because they were not coming to the office enough. These candidates need face time and people spending time with them. So keep in mind this, if you're recruiting this, probably be thinking about people close to your office, and you need an office setting to make this work. You could do the CE Shop virtual stuff for the initial licensing, but once they become an agent, I would not try to do that virtual. I would try to do this in person in an office and hire people very close to your office. And then to operationalize it back to, you can build that into Brokerkit. We're following that workflow. We set the appointment. The final appointment is they sign, right? You're logging the appointment, you switch them to signed here. That's what moves them from recruiting to retention in Brokerkit. When you set signed, and they're going to go to retention and drop in your onboarding queue. Your queue to manage. And maybe you have an admin kind of that owns it, right? This is kind of that onboarding queue. It's tied to this status. They stay here until you set them as active. Once you're done onboarding, you can customize these and retention too, to be more specific to your steps they're going through the mentorship program. When they're on the onboarding queue, you can do bulk messages with them, give yourself tasks, to trigger a campaign, like an onboarding campaign on them. You can also add a campaign trigger to automatically trigger an onboarding campaign once they are moved. So all that can be updated. Now, when you go into the campaigns, I'm going to go back to campaign library. So if I go to retention new agents, you'll see here's an example. This is one where you're going to have to heavily customize it. Once it gets triggered, think of like, first step is welcome, and it'd be great if it was a video from you, a welcome video that you record beforehand. Welcome to the brokerage. Each of these steps could come from the managing broker. Welcome comes from them, and the other messages come from the admin so that the replies go back to them. And it's a sequence of things like, here's how you get your MLS credentials, here's how you get your business cards, all of those things, right? Messages to them, but then also tasks. The other thing you can do is you're probably doing the same 20 or 30 tasks every time you onboard an agent. You can build task plans with our campaigns. So if you create a campaign, you can create a sequence of tasks for the 30 things you do. When you do that, if you set the campaigns like this any day, any time, that means they have no time constraint. If I set multiple tasks this way, when I trigger this campaign, it'll automatically create them without a delay. You can set owners, right? So get your MLS credentials, or it goes to your admin, get MLS credentials. The next one is get business cards. It's a sequence. You trigger it manually and it assigns out the task to everybody. You can set it to contact the owner and it will automatically assign all the tasks to them. And that person is going to see their task due today and it'll be in their daily email with their tasks to do. So that allows you to create some structure within your team. It could be like coaching check-ins. Maybe you have the mentors in there and you're assigning them the task. And then after that, if you're syncing in production, you can have check-in calls where you're reviewing and coaching them on production. Okay, so that's onboarding. Any questions on that? Okay, that is it for today. We've gone through the whole funnel. If there's different variations, I'm happy to stay on for any questions about this or anything else about Brokerkit. You can just jump out live or throw it into the chat and I'll go through that. It looks like we're caught up on questions. I'm seeing another question. You need help building out an onboarding program. So
What you have on the screen, I probably need to create that. Just putting a plan into place is probably what I need to do once I begin onboarding.
yeah, some of those schools that you talked about, I wonder whether they have an affiliate version of something like this that you can just rebrand. That would be one option. And then building it in-house, honestly, the easiest way to do that would be to use AI tools to speed this up. What I did for today is I went into ChatGPT and I used deep research, if you're familiar with that. Have you played with deep research?
It's absolutely expansive and can do so much.
It's available now in the free version. So if you want a free version, I'll give you an alternative. So Grok, by the way, is free in beta, and they have a similar thing. What I would do is give it a pretty long prompt. My trick in getting it to give good content is I voice type things. I voice type as if I'm talking to my intern or assistant of what I need. You give these really long prompts, and it's very good at pulling together the content. I can show you an example if you want.
That would be great because voice typing is something I love doing because I'm on the road a lot.
Okay. So a lot of people are used to voice typing on their phone now for texts. You can do it on your computer. And when you're using this with the chat programs, it's amazing because they work better when you give it more context. But the problem is most people don't have the patience to type out a really long prompt. So what I found is if you just talk to it and act like this is my little assistant and I'm telling you to go build something. Are you on a Mac or a PC, Trisha?
I'm on a PC.
Okay, so in the bottom left, you'll have the Windows. You see that? And then H, that's transcription mode. If you're on a Mac, there's a little globe in the bottom left for you.
What is transcription mode?
It's voice transcription. Okay, I'll give you an example. To prepare for this, I voice typed this. Like, how would I run these ads? What would they be in there? Let me show you one other trick. The next trick is to build the slides. This tool right here, it's got a free tier.
But which program is this? Is it still ChatGPT?
Gamma.app builds presentations using AI. Super quick.
I need an URL because my eyesight is so old I cannot see what the URL is.
So I'm throwing it in the chat.
Okay.
So what you do is you use ChatGPT to tell you the content and then you paste it in here and it'll create a presentation. So
Gamma.
I'll do this live for you right now. You want an onboarding program, right? Okay, so I am a residential real estate broker who is hiring some new agents. They just got out of school and they're new to the business. I want to put together a training curriculum for them. I want you to develop a set of slides that is essentially what I can present to the agents, which is a 90-day curriculum to onboard them. It needs to train them in all aspects. They need to be successful to produce and stick with real estate. So what I want you to do is create the set of slides, paste it in gamma.app to create the slides. It's just create the whole content, that I can copy and paste into Gamma. I choose deep research, and then it will ask me some questions. I'll answer them, and it's going to think for like 10 minutes and come back with this detailed prompt. And then I'm going to log in. This thing it's got a free tier. And I just go in, create new, paste in text. I paste everything it said in there, and it automatically creates a slide deck. That's how I did the slides today. That's how you quickly build out the curriculum for a school. Love the voice typing. You're going to end up with good content. With Google AI Studio, you can share your screen and it'll help you. So that is kind of buggy to me, though. It dies on me when I try it. It's Google. With this, it is free too. If you go to stream, share your screen, it actually can see what's in your screen and tell you what to do. When I've tried to do complex stuff with it, it dies a lot. I don't know if that's happened to you. Anybody else have any questions or comments? What do you think, Tricia?
Absolutely, because I had no idea about Gamma. One of my biggest challenges is creating the PowerPoint.
Believe me, there's a reason I've suddenly had a lot of masterminds. I figured out how to do this. It's so much less time than trying to do this manually.
I'm really re-engaged. I cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much for that information. I cannot thank you enough because I'm re-engaged and I signed up for Realtix and super excited about really getting some success in recruiting.
Love it. Thank you for joining, Tricia. That's pretty much it, unless anybody else has any questions, parting words.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Look forward to seeing you again. Bye now.